Available on Blu-ray from Fun City Editions is 1983's Deep in the Heart, aka Handgun, directed by British director Tony Garnett and starring Karen Young as a young school teacher who has recently moved all by herself from Boston to Texas and is feeling out of place and is feeling awkward, meets a seemingly friendly young man who talks a lot about guns at a party, and he has intentions. He has intentions that she is not interested in. When she expresses that lack of interest, he forcefully follows through on his intentions and bad things happen. A very bad thing happens. So eventually, this is a rape revenge film. It's a rape revenge film made by an outsider from our culture, a British person who came to America and, just like many people from outside our culture and British culture, doesn't understand the gun thing. They're everywhere. How are they everywhere? There's so much violence. People are obsessed with them. This film kind of examines that with an outsider's eye. It's really good. It's a rape revenge film, so there is the rape scene. The rape scene is not as brutal or as explicit as these often were in these films. A lot of times the revenge movies of this era, female revenge films, rape revenge films, had to make what I call the inciting incident so horrible that you were totally cool with whatever that wronged person did to whoever wronged them. This film doesn't do that. It's very subtle and tasteful as far as what's going on, how it's portrayed, how tasteful the distasteful thing is portrayed. It's still very disturbing, but you don't really see anything, which ultimately is kind of for the better for a lot of us. So apparently it was shot in 81, completed in 82, UK release in 83, US release by Warner Brothers as Deep in the Heart in 1984. So 3 years after it was shot, it came out in America as Deep in the Heart. But and there's a Thorn EMI home video release after that, which I'll show you, this Fun City Edition replicates the look of that box, which is just perfect. And later it came out on DVD. I think it was called Handgun in the UK, and it was called Handgun on DVD, but it was, in the on-screen title here is Handgun, but it was Deep in the Heart when Warner Brothers put it out here. So the idea is that she has this horrible thing happen to her. She goes to the police. She is humiliated and shamed all over again because of that. Police ultimately say there's not a lot we can do. She's a religious person. She goes to her church. The priest there says, really not what you want to hear when you've been through that situation, really pretty offensive things. And she decides to take it upon herself to, so easy to do down here, buy a gun and defend herself. And I won't tell you where it goes from there, but this movie is really good. Shot in Texas, feels like you're there. Shot on location entirely in Texas. Uses a lot of non-actors, which is a technique I've always loved. You see it a lot in 70s movies. But, I mean, non-actors are bad if they're in a lead role and they just suck. But non-actors in peripheral roles make you just feel like those are the real people. And in the case of a lot of these scenes, they are the real people. And a lot of the dialogue that was just improvised. They're people who knew what they were talking about, just talking. It's just so good. The guy who plays the lead, I'm bumming on his name, and I'm sorry. In my notes, I refer to him as a poor man's Jameson Parker. He's really kind of bland and stiff, and at first I was saying he's a terrible actor, and then I'm like, no, he's really good. He's really good at being this character that you hate before he does anything. He is just a guy you just want to tell him, just shut up, stop talking. You're such a sleazy, bland, lame, blow-dried hair weasel. Just F.O. And so again, that helps you root for her and her ultimate revenge on the guy. It's this riveting look at Texas / of the period, and really not indifferent. Now, Americans' love of guns from an insider point of view. It's the kind of film that wouldn't likely have been made here at the time. Arguably more relevant now than it was when it came out. And it's got like these survivalist, paranoid, racist ideologies espoused by the various characters. Shot in real locations, as I said, non-actors. It's a great snapshot of the time in general. There's a sequence featuring foxy boxing. You see old storefronts, which I'm a sucker for. The transfer looks gorgeous. It looks so good. It's just step back in time. Even if you're not interested in the subject matter per se, if you're like me and you love just seeing snapshots of America or anywhere in the world that were just shot as is, they're not studio sets, they're not dressed sets, they just are like real places. Handgun gives you that. It also has subtle references to gun violence that I thought were pretty clever. Early on, there's a shot of a car driving through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, where this film is set, where Kennedy, JFK, was shot. There's a copy of the John Lennon Yoko Ono double fantasy record on the wall of the heroine's apartment, shot probably less than a year after that happened, after Lennon was killed by a guy with a handgun. The end theme is a song called Lay Down Your Arms by Harry Nilsson. Really good song. And who I know, Harry Nilsson, a close friend of John Lennon, was very into the ban the handgun or anti-gun violence after Lennon died, because he lost his best friend to a guy who, a crackpot who was able to get his hand on a gun. So special features on this. You get a commentary by Erica Schultz and Chris O'Neill that's really good and really interesting. You get an archival interview with the writer, producer, director Tony Garnett from 1983 that's 2 minutes long. You get an image gallery that's 4 minutes. You get the theatrical trailer that's 2 minutes that looks like a new transfer. It looks like they do this sometimes with new video companies. They'll take the original trailer and they'll basically cut shots from the new transfer over it, so it looks really good, but you're getting the original audio of the original trailer. Then it's got a booklet with an essay by Alexandra Heller-Nicholas on the rape revenge genre and handguns' place in it, and that's really good. And let me show you the packaging. So really nice newly commissioned artwork for the cover that says Deep in the Heart. You reverse that and you get alternate artwork that says handgun. You slip off the slip case and that reveals the back of the disc. That reveals art that looks just like the old Thorn EMI videotape cover, right down to, I love companies that do this. They recreated the old Thorn EMI logo or tweaked it a little bit to look like Fun City, which is great. The back of it looks just like the old Thorn EMI videotape boxes did. You crack it open and you get more new artwork on the disc. You get what I'm going to presume is probably Italian poster art on the booklet. You take the disc out and the booklet out, and you get two more alternate posters from wherever this film was released in the world. And you get that booklet, as I said, with that really cool poster art that makes it look kind of not like a movie that it isn't, but it's good. And you get, again, I think that was the US release. That's the US Warner Brothers poster, which makes me look like maybe they were pointing this more at the art house crowd than the multiplex crowd. And it's a good article. Not that I always do this, not that you can read it or see it, but a good article with pictures. So I love Fun City Editions. I haven't had a chance to review many of their discs, but the quality of what they put out is really high. They really go for movies that most people haven't heard of, or they're not widely remembered, but deserve another look. So available now on Blu-ray from Fun City Editions is the really good Deep in the Heart / Handgun.